and welcome to the Neoprene Playmat. I'm your host, Matt Piak, and this is our weekly roundup. So essentially in this segment, I go over everything I did the past week. Sometimes it dips into 2 weeks' time, depending on how lists come out and things, but honestly, I had a pretty busy gaming week this week, so I have plenty to talk about with just the past week at hand. So before I get into everything I've been playing and what my initial thoughts have been on some new games, I did want to bring up a Kickstarter, and I'll go into this a little bit more in Spend My Money Mondays, but figured we would start off here. So let's get that pulled up. All right, so Twisted Fables launched this week, and I wanted to just bring this up really quick here. Unfortunately, I'm probably not going to be able to buy it. We'll talk about that more on Spend My Money Mondays. But this game looks absolutely phenomenal. And it's only, the campaign is only a 14-day campaign. So it's already down to 12 days. So I wanted to throw this out there. If you're like me and like head-to-head battling games, this one really might be up your alley. There's essentially a bunch of different characters from Fables. So here's like Mulan, Little Red Riding Hood, Sleeping Beauty, and you are going to be essentially playing on. So there's standees and stuff in the regular one, but if we scroll down here to the deluxe edition, you're going to be playing with these miniatures here, and there's a map which little cards come out, and based on what you land on, they flip over and do different things. But you're going to be going back and forth, attacking one another. Each character gets a character tray. There's like defense on this side. The health is tracked on the top. And then there's some sort of power level, I believe, that's tracked at the bottom. It's kind of got some deck building elements to it as well. You are slowly building up and becoming more powerful. Each character has 3 of their own decks, as well as some generic cards. And you're going to be moving through those to customize your Fable character throughout the game. Check it out. It looks really, really intriguing. The miniatures look gorgeous. It's one that I'm really excited about, but it might be a little bit cost prohibitive this month based on how I've already decided to spend some of my October money. If this was a longer campaign, I'd probably be in for it, but unfortunately it's going to be done before October is. So that said, I'll dive into it a little bit more on Spend My Money Mondays, but because it's such a short campaign, I wanted to bring it up here and now, just so you could take a look at it. All right. So to hop into the things that I've been playing this week. So early in the week, I have a buddy that works at a FLGS, and they're working on getting things opened back up with COVID, trying to figure out ways to do social distance gaming and whatnot. That said, after the shop closed, he wanted me to come in, talk to him about maybe some ideas, some different things that the shop can be doing to bring people in and things like that. And then after that conversation, we decided to play some games, because when you're in a game store, that's just what you got to do, right? So we started out by playing Shards of Infinity, which, as you guys have may or may not have seen in my top 10 head-to-head card games, this is one of my favorites. I personally don't own it. I have a lot of friends that own it, and so for whatever reason, it's just kind of been one of those games that I really, really enjoy, but haven't ever picked up. In this game, you are going to have this. Essentially, there's a tableau of cards that flips out here. You have purchasing power from your deck. It's a deck builder, so you're going to be buying these cards, and they get shuffled in. Each of you has certain health total. You'll see 2 of the character cards. They're not really cards. They're like large cardboard pieces with some dials on them, which is kind of cool. But and you're going to be attacking each other, trying to reduce each other's health to 0. What's really unique and engaging about this deck builder over others is that your character throughout the game will level up, and based on how they level up, your cards actually become stronger. So there's not as much of an incentive to get rid of cards. So we got this one to the table, had a good time with it. It was a very, very tight game. I felt like if I was able to get one more turn, I would have won, but Eric was able to close me out. he essentially he had if he had one less damage, I would have survived, but he had exactly the right amount on the last turn, and it did me in. That said, it was an engaging game. I always love getting this one to the table. That's Shards of Infinity. Next, we played Fort, which was new to both of us. I had heard a lot about this. It was on my wish list. It was something I wanted, but then for whatever reason in the back of my mind, I kept putting it off a little bit. I know it recently came out. It was supposed to be with an order I was doing from Power to the Meeple, and I decided maybe now is not the time to go for this game. And luckily for me, Eric picked it up, so I got to try it out. And so in this one, you are a bunch of kids making a fort, enticing other kids from the town to come hang out and play with you, over playing with the other players at the table. It's kind of a deck builder, but it's not really a deck builder in the same sense as a lot of other games. Your deck stays a lot smaller, and all the cards you don't use, which are kids from the town, end up becoming available to your opponents if they want them. So you got to play with your friends in order to keep them around, which is kind of fun thematically. That said, there are some problems with the theme as well. I believe So Very Wrong About Games on their podcast, we're talking about this and how there is the ability to trash cards in the game, or coal cards, or it's called trashing in the game, but essentially get rid of cards out of your deck. And when you start thinking about that thematically, it's like, what happened to that kid? Why has he been trashed and removed from the neighborhood? So thematically, I like what they're going for. There are a couple incoherencies, but it's overall a really nice theme. And so you're going to be playing these kids down, and they have two abilities. One is a public action that everybody at the table is able to follow, and the other is a private action which only the person playing the card gets to play, or gets to use. And you'll see some of these have modifiers. Like this one says you get to acquire or put items from your stash into your bag based on the amount of glue that you played. And so essentially there's cards that have these glue symbols, and so when you play this, you get to discard as many glue symbols as you want in order to modify this to increase its ability. That said, okay, I gotta call them out. Rulebook is not so great. A lot of questions throughout the game, and one of the major ones was on cards like this, where you have a glue bottle here and a glue bottle here. Do you have to discard based on each action separately, or is all the glue that you discard for this ability going to also activate and trigger this ability? I did some digging after the fact, after we were done playing. Apparently we did play it wrong. We were using them both separately. But for clarification, definitely if you discard glue for this ability, that glue that you discarded also gets to work for this ability as well. So they're not two separate actions in that sense. So if you had any confusion about that, I hope that helps clarify. That is from the designer himself. And this game is also based on a game called SPQF, and apparently it's pretty clear in SPQF's instructions that that's how the mechanic works. All right. And so Leader Games has gone ahead and provided great quality components for this game as well. These are dual layer player boards. There's all these wooden toy, like hexagon little pieces, and pizza hexagon pieces that'll go in here. You got a little round wooden marker that moves up here. Really a top-notch job. You can find this game pretty much Miniature Market, Power to the Meeple, Cool Stuff Inc. for $24, or at an FLGS, friendly local game store, for probably $30. It's a great deal component-wise for that price. Now, the question becomes, is this one that's worth buying? Is this one that's worth getting? For me personally, I've only played it once. I want to play it more. I do have some hesitations about it. It seemed many times that in my hand, based on kind of the restrictions and the limits of the game, it was kind of telegraphed in as to what card I should play that was most optimum. It wasn't like I had all these overflowing, abundant options that all seemed good, and I had to pick one from that. It was pretty clear if this is going to be the best move. Additionally, there are a few things that end the game. One is getting your fort to level 5. Another would be getting 25 points on the victory point track. And then the last is if the deck of cards runs out, or of kids, essentially. And I was really hoping to see a game. Once again, I've only played once, so I could be way off. But just from the way all the mechanics worked, it didn't seem like those other two game conditions beyond just getting your fort to level 5 would happen very often. Like going for 25 points, I was hoping would be a super legitimate strategy, and it seemed like it was a way, if players were not progressing the game, if they're not pushing for the level 5 fort, that the game is going to end, so that it has a closing point, which I understand from a design perspective in trying to keep a game at a certain time limit. But at the same time, I was hoping that was going to be a viable strategy. Now, it might be. Once again, I've only played once. I do love the theme. I love the artwork. I love the production. It's certainly going to hit the table again. I'm going to be asking Eric to bring it next time we hang out and play some games. But I'm a little bit on the fence right now. All right. And then I also got to play Here to Slay this week. A buddy of mine, Gordon, he's a coworker of mine. He's a big fan of Unstable Unicorns, and I knew this was a Kickstarter a while back, but I saw that it had released. I shot a message over to Gordon, and he was like, "Oh, I gotta buy it. I gotta get it." So he got this shipped in. We've played over lunch. We've played a couple times outside of that, and it's really a light, quick, kind of like a beer and pretzels game. Just one that you can get out with the buddies. You don't have to think too hard to play. You're going to be getting all these different heroes. They're different classes. I will say there is a lot of luck involved in this game. There's a lot of rolling dice. There's some ways to mitigate that with cards that are called modifiers, but if you don't have any of those cards in your hand, you're not going to be able to mitigate your dice rolls at all. And you're a little bit subject to the card draw, because one of the win conditions is you have one of these 6 or you have all of these 6 different classes out. So we have a fighter, a bard, a guardian, a mage or wizard, a thief, and a ranger. If you get all of them out, so there are games where if you draw correctly and are able to play these out, and your opponent's not able to remove them, things could speed up quite a bit. All of that said, we played at 2 players, and for me, I really think this game is going to shine as a game with more players. Once again, something that's not super thinky, something to just hop into, roll some dice, have some fun, and then you get to slay these monsters, right? You're here to slay. So that's the big theme here. And I gotta say, the artwork on this game is absolutely gorgeous. I think for me, that was kind of my favorite part of the whole game, is just sitting there looking at all the cards as I was drawing them. It's definitely a lighter, fair game. Definitely some luck, but if you're into just having a good time with the buddies, this is definitely one that's fun to pull out and mess around. It's kind of fun to add to the story too of these monsters. To go slay them, you have to have certain hero requirements, and so we're messing around with the heroes that were in front of us, saying, okay, these are the 3 heroes that we're going to send to fight the corrupted Sabretooth. Now, in actuality, the rules don't say anything about that. They just say you have to have 3 heroes in order to go fight them. But we made it a little bit more thematic and had fun with it. So definitely had a good time with this one. And that one will probably be hitting the table more. Then Lost Cities. I'm not going to go too much into the details of playing this one. I feel like I bring it up every week. I got it in a trade about a month ago from Board Game Co. And My wife Heather and I have pretty much played this most nights. We really enjoy this one. It keeps getting out to the table. It's one that as soon as you're done with one game, you want to play another one, and so that's Lost Cities. And I have one more game to talk to you about today, but I am going to do something a little bit different. So typically, as you know, I just bring up a web page and I show you pictures from the game. I'm not much of a photographer, and I think a lot of times the photos available do a really good job illustrating what a game has to offer. So I've been utilizing BGG for most of the pictures, as you guys well know. That said, sometimes pictures don't justify something, and so I got this in the mail this week. My loving wife Heather, although this is not her cup of tea at all, played a game with me last night of it, and I was super excited to get it to the table. But this is the one that's going to be coming out a lot, probably in the next month here. So, let me grab this behemoth. Oh man! All right. So, this is, well, I'm gonna have to back up from my mic here. All right, so this is Super Fantasy Brawl. Yeah, I'm gonna have to bring it off camera here to get to my mic. Maybe I can put it over here, and we can adjust this guy. Yeah. So this game, absolutely huge. Look at the size of this thing. I can't even get it on screen. I'm trying. All right. So this game has been on my wait list for far too long. I have been just waiting and waiting for this to come in. And there's been some delays. COVID has sent things off, but it's one that I've played. I've probably got 20 hours of play on Tabletopia. It's been one that I've just been incredibly excited about. And I'm not disappointed with it at all. Obviously, you can see the size of that box. They couldn't even fit everything in there. So they also provided, here we go, maybe. I'm going to come back here with it. Yeah, so they provided this as well for more heroes. And because I went with the Deluxeified edition, I was able to get a whole bunch of neoprene playmats. So we've got individual playmats for every player that's playing the game. And if you look, it's got a stitching around the edge here, which is absolutely fantastic. I love those little touches. I've got 2 more of them over here. So for 4 players. And then, of course, who could forget the large neoprene playmat for the game. As you may well know, neoprene playmats are one of my favorite things. It makes it so much easier to pick up the cards and to it just feels nice when you grab minis and slide them around on it. I don't know, it just feels better than a table. And so really excited about all of that coming in. I'm sure I'll have more content talking about it because it really is a great game. I knew that beforehand from playing it on Tabletopia so much, but to finally have the miniatures in my hand and to be moving them around the table, to see the giant pillars and to be drawing physical cards in my hand. I love fiddling with cards when I play, probably because I grew up in the Magic scene, as I've talked about before, but the idea of having a big hand of cards with sleeves and just, I'm one of those guys that like shuffles it around and riffles it, probably annoy my opponent to death, but I don't know, there's just something that feels so good about doing that. And so I'm just really excited about this one. As I said, I've been waiting a while for it to come in, and it's finally here. So yeah, that's been my week. I feel like that's a lot of games between Shards of Infinity, Fort, Here to Slay, I think we've played 3 or 4 times. Super Fantasy Brawl, I've gotten to the table just once since it's come in, but it'll definitely hit the table more. Lost Cities I've probably played 7 or 8 times this week. So it's been a great week. Been playing a lot of things. And that's always a good week, especially in COVID era. It seems like it's been difficult to get things to the table. And yeah, my gaming groups have only been 2 people, and it's people that I'm around for the most part anyway. So it's been good to be able to play games in a pretty safe and healthy manner. But at the same time, I'm ready to get groups back together. I'm still waiting. I'm not pushing for these 6 or 8 person groups to play games with. But yeah, it's been a really good week. Been really excited. What have you been playing? What's hit your table this week? Anything here spark your eye? Anything that you want more information on? Please feel free to ask me down below in the comments. Some of these I've played more than others, but I'd be happy to help. Thanks for joining. This has been the Neoprene Playmat, and have a great day.